Good evening, Yorkshire Classic Cars Limited fans, and welcome to another sunny day in Retford. Okay, it is a glorious sunny day. I've already shot a video this morning, and due to a lack of being sent the right parts, I'm allowed to shoot an update on the Capri. You'll notice there's no montages anymore if you've been watching my videos for a while. They've taken the monetisation off because the copyrights keep changing on the music, so I've just given up with it completely. But without further ado, as the Capri's getting quite close to being done, I'm doing a series of videos on the Mega Squirt engine management system installation. Try to do it step by step, again, because I couldn't find anything to help me with it. So I figured I'd work it out as I went along. Hopefully it's all going to work. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But here's where we're up to at the moment. I can't remember what the last video showed, so I'll just show you what needs doing and what's left to do, and I'll talk you through it. Hope you enjoy it. If it's of interest, watch it all. If you like it, like it. If you don't, don't. And if you want to see some more videos, obviously I do lots of classic car stuff. I'm not picking my nose, it itches. Either way, I've got a bit of a cold. I'm asthmatic, so whenever I get a cold, it turns into a chest infection. So I'm not doing this husky voice to try and sound sexy. I don't need to. So yeah, the Capri. Here she stands. I've gone behind the camera so I can show you and I can see what I'm showing you. I appreciate it at a glance. Nothing looks any different, but it really is. I've done a few little jobs here, there and everywhere. So whenever I had a couple of hours to myself, and I've been waiting for stuff to arrive, and I've been doing, there's certain jobs you can't do in a workshop. So I can't do welding and grinding while I've got, you know, nice cars in. When I'm doing bodywork, it doesn't matter on cars that need bodywork doing. But anyway. So, assuming you haven't seen this already, I've got the windows in. I've put the sliding window tracks in that I hate with a passion. They are awful. They don't work. You get red hot. You never get a ventilation in there. You can't get your arm through should you need to adjust the mirror. You can't hear the engine, and I just hate them, but I can't think of a better solution. I did see a video, I think it was a TikTok, or no, I don't go on TikTok, it must have been an Instagram short, but it was a guy had made windows in a TR4, I think it was, that went up and down with a strap on them and Velcro. I thought that is an absolutely fantastic idea. So I tried to do that with these, and I tried to heat them up and fold, because obviously it's polycarbonate. And if you've ever had a radio-controlled car body, that's made of polycarbonate or Lexan. So I tried to heat it, but of course getting heat into this sort of area with just a heat gun or anything is just near impossible. And, you know, you end up localising it too much. I burnt a hole through it, and I thought, you know what, for the time being, I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. If it really drives me up the wall, I'll go back to the glass and the wind-ups. But there's such a curve. You don't realise in a mountain Capri, but there's such a curve in the window along the edge there. It's quite significant. But c'est la vie. I glued on these. Obviously, you can see I've fitted the doors. I don't know if I'd done that last time. Sprayed them green. Done the black stripes. As you can see, I did them on the car so it lined up. I fitted some mirrors I bought off a friend. Thank you, Adam, for selling me those. And I started fitting these weather strips here. Now, that one's a little bit battered and covered in overspray. That came off this car originally when I bought it. And I went to my mum and dad's house. I lost my dad earlier in the year, and now I'm not looking for sympathy, but I forgot that in his garage I still had these, which are some really nice ones, but I've had to glue those on. So the fact that there's no chance of getting those off, so these will probably end up on eBay, but never mind. The other one's on, that one isn't. So that's the bulk of that. Working away with the engine, you know when you think you've spent all the money, you just haven't really, is the upshot of it. I've started doing in there, you can probably see the oil fittings. This is for the oil feed for the turbo. This is for the oil pressure gauge. That is obviously where the oil pressure switch goes originally. And it's involved a modicum of, well, 150 quid worth of different spacers and shaping washers and Ujar pivs and stuff in there. I've mounted the oil cooler. That's now down there in the front valance. So you can see that, just awaiting the hoses, but I want the intercooler in first just to make sure they're going in the right place. The coil packs are in and wired back to the ECU. That's in the MS2 video, so you can see that. I don't know if I'd put the fuel pressure regulator in last time, and I've run a nitrous line that it turns out is about 5 feet too long. But that's my nitrous supply line. I don't know exactly where they're going to go, but they'll end up here somewhere with my nitrous solenoids. I'm probably not going to use nitrous anyway, but I'll have 2 stages, probably one just to spool up the turbo and one for when I'm running. Turbo engines love nitrous. It's quite weird. You see everybody build a turbo engine. If you ever watch Steve Morris engines on YouTube, he hates nitrous because he says if you've got turbo, you don't need nitrous. And I get him. I get where that comes from. But the fact of the matter is, turbo engines love nitrous. I put nitrous on my Skyline, and it absolutely yelped it up. I only ever put 100 horsepower on, and it dropped the quarter mile times by 3 seconds, which is just phenomenal, really. But anywho, that's that. So, moving further in, there's a lot of waffle. I do apologise for that, but hopefully you're getting something. I've been faffing about in here a little bit. So I've made the section of aluminium, if you're British. It's aluminium if you're American as well, but you just all seem to pronounce it wrong. So that goes on there like that with the ECU on it, so you can see all the lights and MS card and all that sort of malarkey. That fits over there. One of my customers gave me that. Thanks, Nick. Very much appreciate that. That finishes that off, and I have a boot to go on there. This takes a standard Capri boot. I've rearranged. That's the nitrous line running through the car. Some people don't like that, but it stops it getting damaged. And it runs up to the nitrous gauge, but I may have to just slightly shorten the pipe running up to the gauge. None of that is tight. It's just sat in there at the moment, just spacing things out. The wiring is complete and tucked away, as you should be able to see in there. This is the oil pressure wire, which is the sender is going to go behind the gauge up there, and I've had to order some -3 pipe and some 8th MPT adapters to fit between that and the Autometer Pro comp gauges. The wiring is all tucked away, the relay box is in, the fuse box is in. You can see there's a little relay holder down there. That's for the horn. I just need to solder out the relay basically. I've got one there. I'm not using that one as well. I don't need both. The wiring does tuck nicely up there, but I've pulled it out while I'm faffing with the gauges. The pedal box is all done and in. Okay, so these are -4 feed pipes that go back to the reservoirs, and they come in there with banjos here, and the clutch is now bled and working, so that actually works. Whether it will or not, I don't know. You can't turn the output shaft in the gearbox when it's in gear with the clutch depressed. Now, when I made the spigot bush, I left it a little bit oversized. It's obviously phosphor bronze. What that means is when I start the engine, I'll put the handbrake on, I'll start the engine, but first I'll put it in gear and dip the clutch and it'll clearance itself, purely because there's no way of checking if you've got clearance on the on where the spigot goes to the splines on the input shaft. And the last time I did it, I just made it a little bit oversized and let it clearance itself. Sounds rough, but it works really, 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 really well. And the surface in a Type 5 Ford gearbox is so narrow that I was scared of machining too much off and only having like a couple of millimetres or sort of a 1/16 of an inch running in there. So I'd rather err to the side of caution. If it doesn't self-clearance, I'll have to take it all out and start again, but it's no biggie. The transmission is now bolted in, fixed. The angles are set for the prop shaft to go to the back axle. So the back of the output shaft is parallel to the axle angle. This is for the ECU. That's the first bit of wiring for the coil packs. The rest of it's coming on later. And that's just a feed wire. I've put the Speedo sender unit in. Okay, so it's here. You have to let it see the sky. Whether that'll work there or not, I have no idea. As soon as it's a cloudy day, I probably won't have any speedo, but we'll be fine. I'd never break the speed limit anyway. Check straps made for the doors. That door I had to adjust it. The bolt came loose for the top hinge, so I had to adjust that. The battery is in. The battery is my 350Z battery. May or may not be enough to start the car. It was a new battery about 12 months ago, so we'll see how that goes. It needs a good charge. The battery leads are in. The battery lead is fed all the way to the front of the car down there, so that's all in. That's the main lead to the starter motor. The other pipe is for the rear brakes, and that is now plumbed into the back axle, but the back axle needs rebuilding. So the battery is now connected. So that'll look really weird because I paused the video rather than stopping it. Oops, that's my head. The rear bulkhead is made. However, I need to cut the hole for the nitrous line down there. I didn't cut that originally because I was going to run it elsewhere, but that's where it ended up. It all fits quite nicely and it needs screwing in there. Now the battery is in, but the battery needs clamping down and the thingy's tightening first, the terminals. I've made a bracket to mount my line lock and bought a line lock. That is there. It goes there once all this is screwed back in. But I need to formulate a handbrake first, so that needs sorting out first before I do that. And I need this in, and then I can pipe up and around it. Obviously there are 2 screws set in that to hold it in position, but until the wiring's done, and I need to get up behind the dashboard, just finish a few little jobs there. So that's all done. If I take you back to the back of the car, excuse me, if I take the boot lid off, which is easier said than done with one hand, excuse me. The washer bottle is now screwed in and piped up and wired up. All the wiring in the boot is now in. These are the clips for the boot lid, and I've made an oil catch tank. It's rather large, but I figured you'd probably better to go big than small. These are the pipes that will come into it. These are for the breathers. I'm waiting for those to come from China. Bought them on eBay, and they were like a tenner each. And they're going to be looped down and come out under the car, because I don't want to drill holes in the boot lid, because unfortunately we're in the UK. And although I've noticed such as Garrett Cletus McFarland, he has his coming out the boot lid, and that's great if it's sort of just a race car, but this is going to get used for all sorts. And in the UK, you just don't know what the weather's going to do to you. So it's about 2 gallons. So the idea is that if I destroy the engine and it pumps all the oil out, then it's going to end up there. I have some tubes under the car. I'm waiting for some angles to come again from China. It's ironic that stuff can come from China in about a week, but if you order it from the UK, it takes about a week and a half. But there you go. This is all steel. It doesn't weigh a huge amount. These are for the baffles inside, so the breathers just breathe rather than getting oil pumping out of them. The brackets are all on but not drilled yet, because I need to. This is welded internally and externally, so I can grind all that back and make it nice and smooth. I've started doing it, but of course with having cars in here, I need to do it outside, and I can't do it outside when my neighbours are here, because they'll get upset because they are in an office. So don't know if you can see or not, probably not, but there is a drain up there. The nitrous bottle is just sat in to make sure there was enough slack on the wire. I've also finished the interior lights, so if I turn the power on, I now have a beautiful green glow in my boot. I'm really impressed with it. When it's dark outside, in fact, I'm going to turn the lights off. It says falling over somebody's car. Oops, sorry about that. So it now has a beautiful green glow inside. I mean, these are LEDs, and I just figured if you break down the side of the road and need something out of the boot or to fill the fuel tank, the draw on the battery is literally nil. It does draw something off the battery, but it's very, very little. I mean, that battery is flat, and it's still working, so that's good. I've got a couple more of those to add under the bonnet, but I need to sort of formulate where everything's going. And of course, I still have the green glow inside. I love that. They're all connected to the door pins, so if I press the door pin, it goes out. And they come back on. Obviously, the switchgear all still works. The power is now up and running, so interior lights and everything. And the car turns over. Okay, the starter motor is in and wired. Another couple of late nights there. The washer bottle is in, and 2 washer pumps make it work. I found once, having put my washer bottle in the boot before, that you can pump the water to the front of the car and it just sort of dribbles out of the jet. So what you do is just pump it to another pump that pressurises it. So that's all good. The seats are out while I'm working inside. The Mega Squirt is on its way. The gauges are on the way. It is getting very, very, very close to the day I kick her in the guts. There's no injection system on it. There's no plugs in it. That's why it was turning over. It sounds really weird when it turns over, but that's just because there's 0 compression. Although, to be fair, when the plugs are in it, there's probably 0 compression as well, because I've never looked at the pistons, but we'll find out. But it is rather nice to hear it turn over. I still have to find TDC, top dead centre. So I've got to make a top dead centre finder and do that. But then we're all go. I've got the seals for the back axle, but what I'm hoping for is when the car is off the ramp, I can spend a couple of days getting everything put back together. So things like the brakes, I can get those reassembled and get the oil seal in. These are the oil seals. I've got one for the rear axle. Can't remember which side it goes in, so I might have to do both sides. That's the output seal for the gearbox. Figured I may as well do it before the prop shaft goes on. There's a car on the ramp at the moment. I'm going to put a prop shaft on that because I've been changing the gearbox. So once I know what that is, I'll order one for mine at the same time. Excuse me, but there's where we stand pretty much. It's actually getting close, which is nice really to see. It really keys you up to get on with it. And it kind of fires you up a little bit. So that's the Capri. Obviously I'll keep giving you updates. You'll get updates via the Mega Squirt build. So if you have a look at that, even if you're not really interested, you'll see bits going on the Capri. Sorry it's a lot of waffle, but I can't really remember what I've last told you and stuff. But I've done lots of teeny little jobs here and there, and it's just sort of built up to quite a lot of work really. Some are silly little jobs and some end up taking forever, but of course I've been waiting for materials for a stag engine, I've been waiting for an engine and gearbox for that car on the ramp, and so on and so forth. So that's where I am with the Capri. I will add at the end, if you're still watching, that's great. Please like and subscribe. When you're building a project like this, I can see why so many fail around this point, purely because you think you've spent all the money and then there's just thousands more. And people go, oh, it can't be that bad. How much does everything cost? Well, you know, a few fittings. I bought the fittings for the front of the engine the other day from eBay, Torx to them, and they're really nice. 150 quid. And then there's another 150 quid in pipes, and then I've still need fuel hoses, oil cooler hoses. You know, they're like £150 a time. And I said to my girlfriend, I think, you know, once I've bought the ECU, it's like 800-900 quid, something like that, the kit. I said, I think that's the big money done. And then you realise there's just so much more money to go. It's always the odds and ends. I've always said this, the odds and ends are what ends up running up massive bills. However, it's pretty close. And hopefully the next update will be me starting it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers and bye-bye.